Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Kunja Bihari. Gopi Janna Vallabha Girivardhari. Gopi Janna Vallabha Girivardhari. Gopi Janna Vallabha Girivardhari. Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana. Braja Jana Ranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Tira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jai Mr. Bhagavad Paramahansa Bhagavadgitaclass Ashtottara Shri Srimad His Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. ISKCON BBT Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Bhagavadgitaclass Ashtottara Shri Srimad His Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnavini Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Srimad Bhagavad Gita Ki Jai. Samaveda Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. All glory to the assembled devotees. All glory to the assembled devotees. All glory to the assembled devotees. All glory to Shri Guru and Gauranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Okay. On the 6th day of March 2019 in SanDiego, we're reading from Srimad Bhagavad Gita as it is, translation and commentary by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. We are in chapter 3 entitled Karma Yoga, text number 33 on page 169. Okay, 169, text 33. Sadrusang cheshtate swasya prakatir jnanavanapi prakatim yanti bhutani nigraha kinkarishyati sadrishang cheshtate swasya prakatir jnanavanapi prakatim yanti bhutani nigraha kinkarishyati sadhusang chestate swasya prakate jnanavanapi prakatim yanti bhutani nigraha kinkarishyati. Page 163. Go ahead. You can chant. You can chant. Go ahead. Sadhusang chestate swasya Prakriti jnanavanapi Prakatim yanti bhutani Nigraha kinkarishyati. Sorry, page 169, text number 33. Sadrisham chestate swasya Prakate jnanavanapi Prakatim yanti bhutani Nigraha kinkarishyati. Okay, I'll read the word by words. Sadrisham, accordingly, chestate, tries, swasya, by his own, prakritehi, modes of nature, jnanavan, learned, api, although, prakratim, nature, yanti, undergo, bhutani, all living entities, nigraha, repression, kim, what, karishyati, can do. Translation. Even a man of knowledge acts according to his own nature, for everyone follows the nature he has acquired from the three modes. What can repression accomplish? Purport. Unless one is situated on the transcendental platform of Krishna consciousness, he cannot get free from the influence of the modes of material nature, as it is confirmed by the Lord in the 7th chapter, 7:14. Therefore, even for the most highly educated person on the mundane plane, it is impossible to get out of the entanglement of Maya simply by theoretical knowledge, or by separating the soul from the body. There are many so-called spiritualists who outwardly pose as advanced in the science, but inwardly or privately are completely under particular modes of nature which they are unable to surpass. Academically, one may be very learned, but because of his long association with material nature, he is in bondage. Krishna consciousness helps one to get out of the material entanglement, even though one may be engaged in his prescribed duties in terms of material existence. Therefore, without being fully in Krishna consciousness, one should not give up his occupational duties. No one should suddenly give up. Hare Krishna. Okay. So, Krishna is speaking here about the necessity for dovetailing. Prabhupada highly uses this word, the word dovetailing one's natural propensities in the service of the Lord. This chapter, Karma Yoga, has especially to do with the need for working in such a way that we get free from the bondage of karma. There is karma, vikarma, and akarma. And in the next chapter, Krishna will explain those in more detail. But in summary, karma in this context means activity that produces a fruit, but that is under the guidance of the Vedas. There's the whole karma kanda section of the Vedas, where you act piously, virtuously, you get punya, but it's not a devotional service, but at least it is selfless and purifying. And so you can rise up to a heavenly planet or get a better birth in this lifetime. But you're not free from the bondage of karma, and you still have to come back again and suffer birth, old age, disease, and death. Vikarma is very dangerous. This is vicious activity simply on the basis of sense gratification and not in reference to the Vedas. And the sky's the limit on the sinful activities you can perform, resulting in
often birth below human beings. You lose the human form of life. Lord Rishabdev condemns vikarma. He said, Nunam pramatta kurate vikarma yadindriya pritaya apanoti. He says, one who simply acts for sense gratification without reference to rules and regulations of the Vedas, that's vikarma, and someone who acts in that way for the sense gratification is simply mad, because it's sure and certain that one will get another birth and suffer greatly. So the ideal is akarma. Akarma means to act in such a way that you're not incurring any karma, good or bad. That's in the realm of devotional service. And that's why Krishna says in the next chapter, one who sees inaction in action is actually wise. Meaning that devotees may be doing so many things with their senses. They're dancing and chanting, they're cooking, they're cleaning, they're going out and preaching and working in a job, making money and giving a lot of it to the temple, whatever. It seems like ordinary work, but it's not, because the purpose is that Krishna will enjoy the fruit. And therefore there's no reaction, good or bad, but the result is that you get free from previous bondage of karma and you pave your way back to Godhead. So here he's saying, he's making the argument that one should continue doing his duty, but the key verse here is text 30, Mai sarvani karmani sannyasatma chetasa. Therefore, Arjuna, surrendering all your works unto me, with full knowledge of me, without desires for profit, with no claims of proprietorship, and free from lethargy, fight. So this is, as Prabhupada says, this verse clearly indicates the purpose of the Bhagavad Gita in the very beginning of the purport. So that's what Krishna is recommending in these subsequent verses. Ye me matamadam anutishtanti manava. If one has faith in this, persons who execute the duties according to my injunctions that I just mentioned, who follow the teachings faithfully without envy, become free from the bondage of fruit of action. So they get free from the karmic bondage, which is our preliminary goal as human beings. Otherwise, we just on this first wheel up and down and suffering constantly. And all the plans we have, the social, political, economic, familial, it's all simply a dream. Because at the end of this body, it's all goes up in a puff of smoke. You're in a new body, you may be in a new species. What's the point? What do you bring forward? Nothing. It's all simply a show. It's like a big phantasmagoria that you've constructed. But if you make some advancement in your awareness of Krishna and reviving your relationship with God, then that stays with you. You take that with you from one life to the next. Krishna promises that in the 6th chapter and also the 2nd chapter. Nehabrikamanashosti. So 32, he warns one who is envious of me and who doesn't follow this teaching. Sarva jnana vimudhangs, all of his knowledge is bewildered, and vidi nashtana chetasa. He's befooled, ruined in his endeavors for perfection. So he lays it out. And here he's saying there's no use trying to repress your desires and your activities. As he said at the beginning of the chapter, you can't do nothing at any time. You have to do something. Nahi kaschit chanamapi jatu tishtak karma krit. He says we're all are conditioned by the modes of nature. We're impelled to work. So the question is, with your higher intelligence, you guide that work in such a way, like you're musically inclined, So what do you do with it? You can try to start a rock band, become famous, make some money, or just enjoy somehow. Or you can learn how to sing bhajans for Krishna, chant Hare Krishna. And there's so much musical talent needed, and it's a wonderful way of glorifying the Lord. And all of that music becomes transcendental service. So it's a question of dovetailing. Repression doesn't work. That's the effort of the impersonal. Excuse me. Hare Krishna. All right. Okay, even a man of knowledge acts according to his own nature, for everyone follows the nature he has acquired from the 3 modes. What can repression accomplish? Now, Prabhupada refers to chapter 7, 7:14. This is a famous verse. Prabhupada made it famous. Daivi yesha gunamayi mama maya doratyaya. You know that one. So Krishna says this nature is divine because it's connected to me. It's composed of the three modes of nature, and it's impossible for one to cross beyond it by his own efforts. But one who surrenders unto me easily crosses beyond it. Why is that? Because Maya is a servant of Krishna. She's got the thankless task of being the prison warden. It's a prison house. And she oversees these three modes of nature, and they act like ropes. Another meaning of guna is rope, Prabhupada explained. And so one stays bound by these three ropes unless one surrenders unto Krishna, and then she orders Maya to release. And so then you can actually cross beyond the three modes of nature. Similar thing is mentioned at the end of the 14th chapter. How to transcend the modes. Krishna just started explaining all of the intricacies of the modes of nature to Arjuna. And then he wants to know, how does one transcend the modes, and what are the activities of one who has transcended the modes, and what are the symptoms, what are the qualities of one? And Krishna explains the qualities and the symptoms, and then he explains the means. And the means is, Mam chayo abhavicharena bhakti yogena sevate sogunan samatityatam brahma bhuyaya kalpate. That unalloyed and unflinching devotion unto me, one transcends the modes and attains the Brahma Bhuta, Brahman. So that's that unflinching devotion is in what does it mean? It means activities of the senses, according to the rules and regulations. We can hear so many things, but if we hear the Hare Krishna mantra, then that's purifying. We can do so many things with our hands, but if we do practical devotional service, we're transcending the modes. We're breaking free of bonds of karma. There's a million trillion different things we can do under the impulse of desire. This will come up in a few verses here. The bondage of karma, of material desire. But if we take that impetus to act, and our activities of our active senses and our knowledge-acquiring senses and the mind and the intelligence, and we, under superior guidance of Shastra and Guru, we engage in Krishna service, then Krishna burns up the previous karma. We're not incurring new karma, and all of our activities are gradually uncovering our natural love for Krishna. That's the whole program. There's no point in trying to repress the senses. The senses need to be engaged. That's the whole point. So how to get free of the modes of nature? Prabhupada mentions that verse in the 14th chapter, which we referred to. Any education on the mundane plane is not going to help. Academics is not going to help. But Krishna consciousness is the only one. One should not give up his occupational duties. So this idea of engagement, according to one's propensity, there's certainly some scope for that. Everyone is has a certain set of modes of nature that we've acquired, a certain propensities, and those can be dovetailed in Krishna service, so that we feel good about our service, we feel enlivened in doing it. But the fruits have to be, as far as possible, enjoyed by Krishna, and then they don't bind us. The whole bondage comes when you aspire to get some material fruit, you enjoy it, and then you want to accumulate more and enjoy more, and all those desires accumulate, and they can never be fulfilled, as explained in a few verses. That this lust, this material desire, is never satisfied, burns like fire, and when you leave the body, all those desires are in your subtle body, you're in your mind, unfulfilled, and they bring you into a new body to try to fulfill them, and this way it goes on and on and on and on, millions and millions of births. So we want to break that chain, as Prabhupada famously, the chain victimization of fruit of activity, life after life, of karma. So that's what this chapter is all about. Okay, any questions on this verse? We ran out of mics for questions. But we'll go on to text 34. Indriyasyendriyasyarte ragadveshal vyavastitao tayo na vashamagache tau yasya padipantino. There are principles to regulate attachment and aversion pertaining to the senses and their objects. One should not come under the control of such attachment and aversion, because they are stumbling blocks on the path of self-realization. Purport. Those who are in Krishna consciousness are naturally reluctant to engage in material sense gratification. But those who are not in such consciousness should follow the rules and regulations of the revealed scriptures. Unrestricted sense enjoyment is the cause of material engagement. But one who follows the rules and regulations of the revealed scriptures does not become entangled by the sense objects. For example, sex enjoyment is a necessity for the conditioned soul, and sex enjoyment is allowed under the license of marriage ties. According to scriptural injunctions, one is forbidden to engage in sex relationships with any women other than one's wife. All other women are to be considered as one's mother. But in spite of such injunctions, a man is still inclined to have sex relationships with other women. These propensities are to be curbed, otherwise they will be stumbling blocks on the path of self-realization. As long as the material body is there, the necessities of the material body are allowed, but under rules and regulations. And yet, we should not rely upon the control of such allowances. One has to follow those rules and regulations unattached to them, because practice of sense gratification under regulations may also lead one to go astray, as much as there is always the chance of an accident, even on the royal roads. Although they may be very carefully maintained, no one can guarantee that there will be no danger even on the safest road. The sense enjoyment spirit has been current for a very long time, owing to material association. Therefore, in spite of regulated sense enjoyment, there is every chance of falling down. Therefore, any attachment for regulated sense enjoyment must also be avoided by all means. But attachment to Krishna consciousness, or acting always in the loving service of Krishna, detaches one from all kinds of sensory activities. Therefore, no one should try to be detached from Krishna consciousness at any stage of life. The whole purpose of detachment from all kinds of sense attachment is to ultimately to become situated on the platform of Krishna consciousness. So this attachment, this again, we can think in terms of sangha. The word sangha means association, as in satsang, or sadhu sangha, and it also means attachment. And the reason is because what you associate with, you become attached to. And it's a natural progression. So as conditioned souls, we have a certain number of built-in attachments. Just being in a body, you're going to need certainly attached to eating, to resting. A sex life is built in. So these attachments are there, and to try to precipitously give them up or curb them too much, the mind will rebel. It's not possible. So one has to judiciously but energetically engage in devotional service, which, as I love this word, and it's perfect for us, sublimate. To sublimate these attachments, like eating. Eating is the most obvious one. Srila Prabhupada's practically this whole movement is based on chanting Hare Krishna and taking prasadam. That's the essence of the practice. Please, if you can have him shut some doors. Lord Chaitanya movement, you read the Chaitanya Charitamrita. So many long kirtans followed by exuberant prasadam distribution. The whole Ratha Yatra, in Jagannath Puri, it's institutionalized. How many times a day? Over 50 times a day they offer prasadam and distribute it widely. So that's because we're going to eat one way or another. So if we can transfer that desire to eat palatable foods to nice prasadam that's been prepared and offered with devotion, then we've spiritualized our eating. And you actually become more attracted to Krishna consciousness through eating prasadam. So that's one. But the other processes too, listening to music and seeing beautiful things like the art, the deities, the other senses, certainly seeing plays. I remember when I came to the movement, I was had a wonderful center where they had a play every week about Krishna Lila. So you get that desire is fulfilled. And in this way, these desires become sublimated. So the point here is that we shouldn't get bogged down in just following the regulated sense gratification. We should always understand the purpose of it, that we want to move toward vairagya, the process. And the ideal, again, is the six Goswamis, who were as detached as you could possibly be. They had no place to live. they would just live under a different tree. They hardly ate anything, and they hardly slept. And what to speak of sex life. So it brought it down to the absolute minimum, which meant they had maximum time and mental energy and life energy for Hey Radhe Vajadevi Kecha Lalite He Nandasuna, going through Vrindavan and searching for Krishna and writing, and mostly writing their books, and working on behalf of Lord Chaitanya's movement and creating the foundation for this Hare Krishna movement. But they showed how detached you could actually be and renounce. Raghunath Das Goswami, it's inconceivable. He practically stopped eating altogether, and he just, living on Radhakund and writing his books and sharing his witnessing of Lord Chaitanya's Leela for, 12 years in Jagannath Puri, in the Antya Leela. So, Prabhupada mentions marriage. There's all of these, regulations, and the whole idea is that there's a regulation. In other words, the impetus is to have as much sex as possible, but that's destructive, certainly for one's individual self-realization, but it creates havoc in society. Therefore, in any civilization, there's an institution called marriage, and it's always a religious institution. Why does it take place in a church, or in a temple? We have so many marriages we've had here over the years. Because the idea is that you're taking vows, you're witnessing, you're publicly declaring, so that there will be a restriction on this tendency, and there'll be controlled, and there will be good population created out of that. When you have sex going on rampantly like this, that disaster in society. The women are unprotected, the children are unprotected, they're not properly trained, they're also getting exposed to all this stuff. Quickly the society goes down. So Krishna consciousness is a countervailing force. We used to talk about that a lot. A countervailing force to the degradation of Kali Yuga that's progressing. And it's predicted in the 12th canto. The only hope really is control, is to agree to the authority of the Shastra, and in terms of restraining one's impetus to unrestricted sense gratification, dovetailing that in Krishna consciousness, and getting the higher taste. As Prabhupada mentions here, no one should try to be detached from Krishna consciousness at any stage of life. So attachment's going to be there. I like to refer to the Sadhu Sangashtaka. You remember that? There's a passage. You're familiar with it, Srimad Bhagavatam? Not so much. Okay. So the Bhagavad Purana is said to be the ripened fruit of the tree of all the Vedic knowledge. So in the third canto of this Bhagavad Purana, Srimad Bhagavatam, which our spiritual master worked very hard to give us, and he got through all of the chapters except the last 120 in the 10th, 11th, and 12th cantos. Completed about 2/3 of the work. So it's a very thorough, exhaustive description of Krishna's Leela, Krishna's avatar, of his pastimes in the 10th canto, and the philosophy undergirding Krishna consciousness. So in the third canto, Lord Kapila Deva appears. Now this is the ancient Kapila Deva, the son of Devahuti. And he teaches this Sankhya philosophy. But the Sankhya is saturated with bhakti. In other words, the ultimate goal is the bhakti yoga. So there is the beginning of his instructions to his mother. He talks about the importance of association with sadhus. This is a key element. And so it happens to be 8 verses. And those 8 verses I've dubbed as the Sadhu Sangashtaka. 8 verses about the importance of sadhu sangha. So he starts out with a verse about sangha. Prasangam ajanam pasham atmana kavayo vidu saheva sadhu shukato moksha dwaram apavatam. So he says this, the attachments that we've built up over thousands of births, they're like these strong ropes keeping us bound here. Prasangam ajanam pasham. Ajanam pasham means very strong ropes of this person. Prasangam ajanam atmana kavayo vidu. So the wise soul understands that Saesha Sadhu Shukato, that prasanga, that attachment has to be redirected from things of this world and mundane people to sadhus. Sadhu and that opens the door of liberation. Moksha dvaram apavatam. Mundane attachment keeps us bound to birth and death, infernal. But love for sadhus opens wide the doors to life eternal. I put it into a little poem. I didn't do all 8, so that's the only one. So then the next question is, well, who are these sadhus? How do I find them? How do I recognize the sadhus? Say, okay, I accept. I have to try to associate with sadhus. Where are they? Who are they? So he has 3 verses describing what the qualities and activities of the sadhus. So the first is, how can I recognize one? Titikshava, karunika, suridak sarvadehinam, ajata shatravak shanta sadhavak sadhubhushana. These are like ornaments of the sadhu, the qualities. So the first is tolerance. Tolerance. Titikshava, karunika, and mercifulness. They go together because a real sadhu, he's trying to help others as well, out of mercy. But everyone knows that when you preach God consciousness, which means sense control, renunciation of things that you really want to do, and believing in God, a lot of people, they just get out of my way. I'm not interested, Even back 2,000 years ago with Jesus Christ, that was the whole problem. We're not interested. The atheists are always against that. We read in Bhagavad, Kamsa, Ranyakashipu, and so many others. So, therefore you have to be tolerant if you're going to be merciful. But the sadhu is staunchly the friend of every living entity, not even just human beings. What about the poor cows? Even the cats and dogs. He doesn't hurt anyone, if possible. That's the sadhu, very rare quality. Suridak ajata shatravak has no enmity toward any living being. No one is my enemy. No enmity. Ajata shanta. And because no enmity and self-control, very peaceful. Very peaceful. Shanta. These are the ornaments of the sadhu. Now, what is the sadhu? What's the underlying activity that develops these qualities? Devotional service. So Kapila said, now he's Krishna, so he says, Maya ananyena bhavena bhaktim kurvanti yedvidham. The quality, ananyena bhavena, unalloyed, unbroken devotion to me, says Lord Kapila. Mahi ananyena bhaktim kurvanti yedvidham, with great determination. Because there's so many impediments internally and externally to pure devotional service. And it's characterized matkrute tyakta karma nastyakta swajana bandhava. And such a devotee will give up any activity that's an impediment to devotional service, and even give up his bonds to friends and family if those are impediments. You see, matkute tyakta karmanas. Tyakta karma. Give up any activity that you would normally do, but you won't do it because it's for me. Or I'll even give up this relationship, which is detrimental. And that sometimes means you have to break up relationships. So then what does he do? Besides, this is a negative thing. He gives up this. He's always hearing and chanting very attractive and sweet vibrations about me. In other words, Krishna Kata. This is how you purify your desire. Take it away from material things and put it on Krishna. Mostly hearing and chanting. Madashraya. Madashraya here means sound vibration that's under my shelter. In other words, that concerns me, that concerns Krishna. Krishna Kata. Kata mrishta, very attractive. Shrindvanti katayanti cha. And what's the result? The pandiva vadastapa anaitan mankata chetasa. That therefore the material miseries don't affect him very much. The mind is already on me. Mankata chetasa. The mind is on me, and therefore the material pains and pleasures don't attract him and don't bother so much. And therefore he reiterates to him, now you have to try to find them, Tahete sadhavak sadvi. Oh my mother, you are a sadvi. You are already a female sadhu, So there's kind of a play on words there. But you search out these sadhus who are sarva sangha vivarjita, who are free of material desire. Now here the word sangha means literally attachment. So you can tell if they're free of material desire, they're peaceful. He gave the quality. Taite sadhavak sadvi sarva sangha vivarjita sangashte pratate pratya. Their sangha of these sadhus, if you're able to find them, sangha dosha harahite, will remove the bad effects of previous bad association. Because we're suffering from not asadhu sangha, from lifetimes of asadhu sangha. You know what I'm saying? That residue of material desire and impurity is with us, but you associate with the sadhus, and then that will be cleansed away. You see, you become purified. Nirmana moha jita sangha dosha. Sangha dosha, the faults that comes from bad association. We have to get rid of that. So then comes the kind of central jewel of these 8 verses. This is verse number 6. Satam prasangam mama virya sambido bhavanti ritkana brasaya nakata tajoshanara shvapavarga vartmani shraddha ratir bhaktir anukramishiti. So satam prasanga, here's the word prasanga again. So there's prasangam, which is the powerful attachment and association materially. Now comes the very strong association and its purifying force of the sadhus. So satam prasang, sadam means sadhus. Satam prasangan, what are you going to get from that intense devotion with the intense association with the sadhus? Mama virya sambido, you'll hear conversation and talks about me. But virya means very potent. Bhavanti, which will produce ritkana rasayana kata. This kata, this sound vibration, is just like a life-giving elixir for the heart and the ear. It's very pleasurable to hear, and it brings you back to spiritual life. It reawakens you. Rasayana kata, tajoshanat ashu apavarga vartmani. Following this path of apavarga, which is liberation, you quickly develop tajoshanat ashu is quickly shraddha rati bhakti, faith in me, faith in the process of devotional service, faith in the Shastras, all these things that you need faith in to progress. Shraddha, rati, attraction, and finally bhakti, which here means pure devotion. Well, step by step, anukramishati. So this verse is very, very important for all bhaktas. Then the last 2 verses describe the results of that. So he says, bhakti-apaman jate varaga aindriya drishta shrutar madvachananu chintaya. Madvachananu chintaya means by absorbing the mind through the sound vibration vibrated by pure devotees in association of vibration of what? My activities, my lila, both in the spiritual world as well as creation. That's part of Krishna's lila also, understanding how this world came to be and our place in it. So bhakti-apaman, by bhakti, by devotional service, it generates jatu, bhakti-apaman jati viraga aindriyad. Viraga, vairagya, detachment from the indriya priti. Both those which you have directly experienced or seen around you, which we're always exposed to, and those which you heard about the heavenly planets. You're detached from both of those. You know, going to the heavenly planets and enjoying for 10,000 years, and that doesn't attract you either. That's like a sky flower. What to speak of the things of this world? So, bhakti-apaman jata viraga aindriya drishta shrudarman vachananu chintaya, by absorbing the mind in me. Chittasya yatto grahane yoga yukto bhavishyate vrijubhi yoga maga. Vrijubhi, this easy process of yoga. What could be easier than just coming to an assembly, sitting down, and listening to the talks of the pure devotees? You don't have to go to the Himalayas. You know, you don't have to do any extreme austerity. Just lend your ear. Shushusho means ardent hearing, or submissive oral reception, Prabhupada calls it. And that's, it's practical for us. And then the final verse describes the result of all this. It says, asevayayam prakadegana, by thus not serving the modes of nature. We're back to this verse again. Not serving the modes of nature. In other words, you're serving Krishna and he liberates you from the modes of nature. Asevayayam prakadegananam jnanena vairagya vibhimbhitena, and thus developing real knowledge and real detachment, vairagya vibhimbhitena. And yogena, by yoga, yogena mayarpitayacha bhaktya, offering everything to me with devotion. What's the result? Mam pratyagatmani havarunde. One realizes me in this very lifetime and is sure of his path back to Godhead. So it all starts from taking our association and our attachment and putting it at the lotus feet of the realized souls, and then everything, the channel opens up. And so this is the first instructions. So that's another review of the Sadhu Sangashtaka, which we've had several of, but it's always pertinent. It's all good. Any questions or comments on that? Okay, we can spend that, and we'll begin We'll do text 35 on Monday and launch into the crowning jewel of this chapter, which is the lust section at the end of the chapter. Arjuna asks, well, okay, what real good, but what's impelling us to act even against our own best interests? Atakena payukto mam papam chadri purusha anichana vivashana baladi vinayojita. It sounds like the addict, you know. What is it that's making me act against my own best interests, Arjuna? And he says, oh, it's kama. It's lust, Arjuna. It's this powerful desire you build up for many lifetimes. It's forcing you to act in this way. And he covers your knowledge, and then he gives the means of transcending it, which is basically the yoga that's described in the beginning of the next chapter. And he talks about that. So it's and there's so many wonderful instructions to come in this chapter. But now we have our 8 o'clock reading. And yesterday we read from Prabhupada's translation of the 9th chapter, you may recall, the wonderful description of the binding of Krishna. We did a little Damodar Leela, so that was chapter 9. Let's see what chapter 10 has to offer. 10th canto, chapter 10. All right, we'll read the chapter summary. Well, almost the chapter summary is the whole story, so we'll just begin in the text 1. So, you remember what happened is that Krishna eventually got bound up to the grinding mortar, and then Mother Yashoda went about doing her business, and he saw these 2 Yamalarjun trees. You know Krishna Leela a little bit? Yeah. So those Yamalarjun trees were waiting for like 30,000 years to be delivered by Krishna. So that's it. That story is coming up here, how they got there. So King Parikshit inquired from Shukadev, O great and powerful saint, what was the cause of Nalakuvaras and Manigrivas having been cursed by Narada Muni? So that ended the last chapter, kind of is the introduction. Here's these 2 trees, and they had been the sons of Kuvera, who had been sporting in the Gandakini river with the nymphs. And somehow they became trees. How did that happen? What did they do that was so abominable that even Narada Muni, the great sage, became angry at them? Kindly describe this to me. Shukadev said, O king, because the 2 sons of Kuvera had been elevated to the association of Lord Shiva, of which they were very much proud, they were allowed to wander in a garden attached to Kailas Hill on the bank of the Mandakini river. Taking advantage of this, they used to drink a kind of liquor called Varuni. Now that should ring a bell, because that's Balaram's favorite. Anyway. Accompanied by women singing after them, they would wander in that garden of flowers, their eyes always rolling in intoxication. So they were kind of playboys. Kuvera is very wealthy, you know. Within the waters of the Mandakini Ganges, which were crowded with gardens of lotuses, the 2 sons of Kuvera would enjoy young girls, just like 2 male elephants enjoying in the water with female elephants. O King Parikshit, by some auspicious opportunity for the 2 boys, the great saint Devarshi Narada. Devarshi means the sage amongst the devas, amongst the gods. Narada once appeared there by chance. Seeing them intoxicated with rolling eyes, he could understand their situation. Upon seeing Narada, the naked young girls of the demigods were very much ashamed. Afraid of being cursed, they covered their bodies with their garments. But the 2 sons of Kuvera didn't do so. Instead, not caring about Narada, they remained naked. Seeing the 2 sons of the demigods naked and intoxicated by opulence and false prestige, Narada, to show them special mercy, desired to give them a special curse. Thus he spoke as follows. Now this is like throughout the Bhagavatam, there's various what I call soliloquies, where kind of the action stops, and there's this kind of a speech that has so much philosophy. So this is like a really strong revelation of Narada of the dangers of too much wealth, which we see around us today. Narada said, among all the attractions of material enjoyment, the attraction of riches bewilders one's intelligence more than having beautiful bodily features, taking birth in an aristocratic family, and being learned. So these are these 4 basic opulences that Kunti spoke of. Janma, Shwarya, Shuta, Shribir. Good birth, or aristocracy, wealth, learning, education, and physical beauty. So he says, of all these, wealth is the most intoxicating. That's what he's saying here. When one is uneducated but falsely puffed up by wealth, the result is that one engages his wealth in enjoying wine, women, and gambling. We see it all around us. Unable to control their senses, rascals who are falsely proud of their riches or their birth in aristocratic families are so cruel that to maintain their perishable bodies, which they think will never grow old or die, they kill poor animals without mercy. Sometimes they kill animals merely to enjoy an excursion. Right out of the headlines. While living, one may be proud of one's body, thinking oneself a very big man, a minister, president, even a demigod. But whatever one may be, after death, this body will turn either into worms, stool, or ashes. If one kills poor animals to satisfy the temporary whims of this body, one doesn't know that he will suffer in his next birth, for such a sinful miscreant must go to hell and suffer the results of his actions. While alive, does this body belong to its employer, to the self, to the father, the mother, or the mother's father? Does it belong to the person who takes it away by force, to the slave master who purchases it, or to the sons who burn it in the fire? Or, if the body is not burned, does it belong to the dogs who eat it? Among the many possible claimants, who is the rightful claimant? Not to ascertain this, but instead to maintain the body by sinful activities, is not good. This body, after all, is produced by the unmanifested nature and again annihilated and merged into the natural elements. Therefore, it's the common property of everyone. Under the circumstances, who but a rascal claims this property as his own, and while maintaining it commits such sinful activities as killing animals just to satisfy his whims? Unless one is a rascal, one can't commit such sinful activities. Atheistic fools and rascals who are very much proud of wealth fail to see things as they are. Therefore, returning them to poverty is the proper ointment for their eyes, so they may see things as they are. At least a poverty-stricken man can realize how painful poverty is, and therefore he will not want others to be in a painful condition like his own. By seeing their faces, one whose body has been pricked by pins can understand the pain of others who are pinpricked. Realizing that this pain is the same for everyone, he doesn't want others to suffer in this way. But one who has never been pricked by pins can't understand this pain. A poverty-stricken man must automatically undergo austerities and penances because he doesn't have the wealth to possess anything. Thus his false prestige is vanquished. Always in need of food, shelter, and clothing, he must be satisfied with what is obtained by the mercy of Providence. Undergoing such compulsory austerities is good for him because this purifies him and completely frees him from false ego. Always hungry, looking for sufficient food, a poverty-stricken man gradually becomes weaker and weaker. Having no extra potency, his senses are automatically pacified. A poverty-stricken man, therefore, is unable to perform harmful, envious activities. In other words, such a man automatically gains the results of the austerities and penances adopted voluntarily by saints. Saintly persons may freely associate with those who are poverty-stricken, but not with those who are rich. A poverty-stricken man, by association with saintly persons, very soon becomes uninterested in material desires, and the dirty things within the core of his heart are cleansed away. Saintly persons or sadhus think of Krishna 24 hours a day. They have no other interest. Why should people neglect the association of such exalted spiritual personalities and try to associate with materialists, taking shelter of non-devotees, most of whom are proud and rich? Therefore, since these two persons, drunk with the liquor named Varuni or Madhvi, and unable to control their senses, have been blinded by the pride of celestial opulence, and have become attached to women, I shall relieve them of their false prestige. These two young men, Nalakuvara and Manigriva, are by fortune the sons of the great demigod Kuvera. But because of false prestige and madness after drinking liquor, they are so fallen that they are naked but can't understand that they are. Therefore, because they are living like trees, these two young men should receive the bodies of trees. This will be proper punishment. Nonetheless, after they become trees, and until they are released, by my mercy, they will have remembrance of their past sinful activities. Moreover, by my special favor, after the expiry of 100 years by the measurement of the demigods, they will be able to see the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vasudeva, face to face, and thus revive their real position as devotees. So, Shukadeva continued. Having thus spoken, the great saint Narada returned to his ashram, known as Narayan Ashram, and Nalakuvara and Manigriva became twin Arjun trees. Now, Krishna, to fulfill the truthfulness of the words of his great devotee, Narad, slowly went to that spot where the twin Arjun trees were standing. And he thought, now Krishna is thinking, although these two young men are the sons of the very rich Kuvera, and I have nothing to do with them, Devarshi Narad is my very dear, affectionate devotee, and therefore, because he wanted me to come face to face with them, I must do so for their deliverance. Having thus spoken, Krishna soon entered between the two Arjun trees, and thus the big mortar to which he was bound turned crosswise and stuck between them. By dragging behind him with great force the wooden mortar tied to his belly, the boy Krishna uprooted the 2 trees. By the great strength of the Supreme Person, the 2 trees with their trunks, leaves and branches trembled severely and fell to the ground with a great crash. Thereafter, in that very place where the 2 Arjun trees had fallen, 2 great perfect personalities, who appeared like fire personified, came out of the 2 trees. The effulgence of their beauty illuminating all directions, with bowed heads they offered obeisances to Krishna, and with hands folded they spoke the following words. O Krishna, Krishna, your opulent mysticism is inconceivable. You are the Supreme Original Person, the cause of all causes, immediate and remote, and you are beyond this material creation. Learned Brahmins know that you are everything, and that this cosmic manifestation, in its gross and subtle aspects, is your form. You are the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the controller of everything. The body, life, ego, and senses of every living being are your own self. You are the Supreme Person, Vishnu, the imperishable controller. You are the time factor, the immediate cause, and you are material nature, consisting of the 3 modes, passion, goodness, ignorance. You are the original cause of this material manifestation. You are the super soul, and therefore you know everything within the core of the heart of every living entity. So we'll pick that up on Monday. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.